Hi, everybody. Welcome to Jamie's Local Love, the podcast. On this podcast, we celebrate everything local in Arizona. Today, our guest is one of the catalysts for creative cocktails right here in Arizona. Jason Asher is the president and CEO of Juniper and Jigger Hospitality. Jason, hello.
Hi.
How are you doing? Where are you today?
I am in El Paso.
Why?
A pretty cool city. I've gotten to know it over the last year, but we've been working on a project, first of its kind, very elevated cocktail bar, here in the heart of El Paso, right next to the ballpark.
So this is a project under Juniper and Jigger. Tell me first of all about this consulting hospitality business that you have created, because many of us know you from Century Grand.
Yeah. Had a good run. It was an amazing opportunity to kind of start a new adventure. And so Kaylee and I, jumped in feet first, and we launched Juniper and Jigger Hospitality, and taking a look at, for lack of a better description, how like celebrity chefs work their deals and how they come in and they're the brand and they're the face and it's their concept. And yet, there's another operating team. And we found that to be a very interesting partnership. And so that's really what we've been trying to do. And over the course of the last year, we've landed a couple really great projects, all of which are very much in this partnership sort of mentality where, if the brand does well, if the concept does well, we do well. And so that is exactly where we are here in El Paso, working on a really elevated, really cool, and I think a catalyst for this entire city when it comes to cocktails. And we open in the next few weeks. So we're pretty excited.
Stay tuned for that, especially if you're traveling through El Paso. You'll want to pop by and see what you are up to now. You are a Phoenix native. Tell me about growing up here in Phoenix, how you kind of got interested into food and beverage and the cocktail creations.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Phoenix was, I think an interesting city. I didn't necessarily go to amazing restaurants as a child, like the kind of places that perhaps I seek out today. I went to a lot of really great restaurants, but it wasn't until, probably I was about 15 that I had sort of taken interest in working in the industry. I grew up in a very culinary centric household family. My grandfather was a chef. My entire family cooked all the time. Like it was food was very much a focal point of like our daily lives. And so when I had the chance to go work at a local restaurant, kind of in Tempe, Scottsdale border, I liked it, I enjoyed it. And I eventually started working at a bank. Interesting. But I got to, I worked my way into merchant teller, and that's where I met a lot of the restaurant folks.
Oh.
And that was really I think the door opener for me. And I went to go work at a place called Ayako of Tokyo, which is over at the Biltmore Fashion Park back in the day, across from, I forget the name of the restaurant that was right across the way. But anyways, so I learned to bartend there, and then, eventually found my way to Sanctuary, and went to culinary school in the middle of all that and got a degree in culinary arts after college. Lived in San Francisco and came back to Phoenix, and with the goal of opening my own place. And, the Sanctuary, I got a chance to work with a massive personality, Bo McMillan.
Yes, we knew that was coming. Yes.
He's, she's one of a kind. And certainly a slingshot, right? It was a stepping stone, won a cocktail competition, worked for the distributor, and took the leap of faith in 2014, and opened our first bar, Counterintuitive, in Old Town.
And Counterintuitive got so much attention right away. It felt like that was the first time we started speaking about the mixology world, the cocktail world, the elevated cocktails having a home here in Phoenix. Tell me about that space and just the national attention you guys got there.
Yeah, I think for a couple of guys like coming together with a pocket full of change to open a bar, like
Yeah.
it was, whoa, sorry, I got a little emotional.
Yeah. And you should. You
But
should
it
be proud of
was
that.
but it was it was like a blood, sweat, and tears kind of joint, where we went in with a very small amount of money and we did something just transformative, magical. Um, and you know, I think it was the precursor to what was going to be a great city for cocktails.
Well, you think about you giving Bo the credit of being a slingshot. You and what you all built have also been a slingshot for so many different creations and so many different people. There are so many people that I have met when I met
Oh
you
yeah.
at Century Grand, however long ago when Undertow first
Yeah.
opened in the they say the belly of a spice ship, but it was really the belly of a oil change location
Hmm.
where this space was. And so many
Hmm.
people have been slingshotted out of that experience to own their own places who are still dear friends of yours. I'm thinking of Libby right now over at Highball. She was one of my first people I made contact with over at Undertow. And
Oh yeah.
what, not only what you and your buddies and your pocket full of change kind of did for cocktailing
Hmm.
in Arizona, but for so many people who are passionate and have become entrepreneurs on their own right.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you brought that up because I feel very similarly uh being here in El Paso, right? And after we did it, we built something that basically manifested itself into an entire community, right?
Mm-hmm.
God. And when I'm here in El Paso, it is so reminiscent of a city that is full of great bartenders that are hunting for a purpose, hunting for a way to make this a career, not just a pit stop on my way to my next thing. And I see this city being the same exact way. And I'm often reflecting on the people that have come through our doors. You have Highball, you have Pretty Penny, you have Killer Whale, you have Legends Never Die. Um, and I can probably go on, so on and so forth. And it's a pretty magical thing to be able to watch the individuals that have spent so much time with us, so many years with us, uh, be able to take what they've learned and really take the next big step, which is ownership. And I really, this is one of those businesses where nobody pats you on the back.
Mm.
And so, like, you feel proud.
Yeah. Yeah, and you
Yeah.
should. I mean, Jason Asher
Yeah.
is a really, really, really big name here in the Valley when it comes to cocktails. And you think of like Arizona Cocktail Week. You think of all the mixology contests, and Chef Bo brought back the bar
The bar
brawls.
brawl.
I mean, yeah, you want to beat the guy next to you, yeah, but you also love that guy too. And everyone's kind of coming up together in this cocktail world and really creations. Because I remember during COVID, not only did you all offer a lot of online Zoom educational
Oh,
experiences,
yeah.
but you really were
So much.
dialing in the NA. Somehow, when everyone else was drinking their booze during COVID, you guys saw that there might be an end to this, and we want to be ready with some great cocktails, mocktails, for when this trend happened. How did you see this coming? How are you preparing during this time?
I mean, I think that, I don't want to speak for the rest of the the con the community of enthusiasts that visit the bars, our bars, or any other bars, but I think there was a point in the pandemic where you just got up in the morning and you looked at yourself and you said, okay, a happy hour can't start at 11 every day. Like, you, something has to change. And this is my life. Like, I was so confused and lost at times during that 6 month period because whether it was losing my sense of smell and taste for a very lengthy period of time, or not knowing if our business was going to reopen, and like it was so stressful. And I was like, there has to be some other options, right? We're going to come out of this and people are either going to completely fully adopt this I'm not drinking, and and then we're going to be rolling into this maybe this new generation. And so I think all of it's happening in its own small little bit of way, the small way. But during that 6 month period, I studied the Zero book by the Alenia Group, and I made that every ingredient from front to back in that entire book. Did I love the ingredients? I didn't necessarily love the ingredients that they were producing, but their techniques were incredible. And so the takeaway was understanding how they're extracting flavor with water, right? When alcohol just does it in a very different way, and it extracts flavor in multiple different ways, whereas water is really singular. And so I learned a lot of takeaways, and we were able to kind of pivot and kind of make what I think is one of the most unique non-alc cocktail programs. I think if they still exist over at the Century Grand and or Undertow, they're like, very reminiscent of drinking real cocktails or making ingredients with 72 individual ingredients to make it taste like this one thing. And so we're doing all of those things to hopefully encourage this feeling of like acceptance in the, when you're sitting next to somebody and you're drinking lemonade and they're drinking a beautiful cocktail, it's kind of weird. But if you're drinking something that's still kind of vibing like a cocktail,
yes,
then it's, yeah.
The
So
lemonade still deserves a beautiful glass and a flower in it. And then the 72 different ingredients that you all have nurtured from our citrus or wherever, our spices, whatever you have done to create these beverages. And I did not too long ago have a non-alcoholic cocktail over at Platform 1918.
18, yeah.
18, and it was delicious and beautiful. And
good.
I love leaning into the mocktails because I drive to a lot of my functions that I head to, and I don't want to have one drink. I just don't. And then I love that I can drive home. I still had my pretty drink for the cheers with all the girls or whatever the case is. I mean, that's a thing. I remember being at a girlfriend's bachelorette party at Sanctuary, and one of the girls stopped the toast because she wasn't drinking, and stopped the toast to get something non-alcoholic because she didn't want to have her glass with her iced tea or whatever it was.
Right.
And it is an acceptance thing and having everyone in it together. So it is really great that you saw that coming. So do you have a favorite mocktail that you have created or that maybe I should order next time I'm out?
I think that the entire world of mocktails is now a little bit easier because of all these really wonderful versions of alcoholic things that exist that you can buy, right? Non-alcoholic spirits, right? Might be a great option. They make modifiers. There's great syrup lines that are out there. And so I'm really flavor driven. I really love yuzu right now. Yuzu is like one of the flavors that and it's been around forever, but
how do you spell it?
Yuzu.
Okay.
Yuzu. But now it's readily available. There's this syrup line called Real makes a yuzu syrup, and it's really wonderful and it's really yummy. Anyways, you can get them at the Trevor's locally in Phoenix, which is great. Love Trevor's and those guys. But I really love like a little spicy margarita that's made with, some of those. I'll be honest with you, the Almave non-alcoholic tequila is pretty good.
Oh, wow.
Really like the Blanco. I think it smells like tequila and it gives you the kind of tequila vibe. So that's kind of my favorite. It's something a little spicy, something a little foreign. So yeah, like a spicy yuzu margarita with the Almave product.
And you're a tequila mezcal guy, am I right?
Oh, I love agave. Yeah, it's my fave.
So is that what you're drinking? If you're having a business meeting, you're sitting down to maybe celebrate a win. What are you ordering?
Oh man, I'm probably gonna order a Fortaleza tequila. Um,
I have
I'll
to.
take whatever they have. I'm not partial to any of the different age statements. All their product is really good. It's really hard to get. It's a really small production coming out of the town of Tequila, so it's my one of my favorites. Yeah,
Let's
super
talk
good.
about the project that you are working on down the street. Over there with our
Yeah.
friend, Chef Jennifer Russo. She's been in
Mhm.
the catering business for nearly 30 years now.
Oh
And
yeah.
she's got that restaurant space over there at, I think, 36th Street in Indian School. What's happening over
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, it's an older building, right? We know a lot of the old stories that kind of are surfacing around that building, which is pretty cool. I know Marshall Shore, I think, is doing a little bit more in-depth research
What's going
on
on?
that building.
I don't know.
Well, it used to be the old back street, and the back street's got a lot of like, ghost stories and
Oh.
mafia stories and murders and
Does Jennifer have any stories? Does she have any ghost stories?
she says, yeah, they seem pretty friendly.
As long as they don't mess with their meals, it's good to go.
Yeah.
Okay, so the building
So
has
here's
history.
yeah. So here's the story, right? Like, so Jennifer gave me a call and said, I want to chat. And we sit down. She says, look, the restaurant, we do a lot of events at the restaurant, and that's really kind of what we do. But my primary, like the meat on the bone is coming from the catering company, which I've been doing for, you know, 150
Yeah.
years. So she's just a legend in that way. And she said, if you're interested in doing something up here, I'm down. Take a couple days, sit here, feel it. And so I made a phone call and I called Wesley James, Line Lab. He's the guy that built my former concepts, right? Century Grand, Platform 18, Gray Hen, Undertow. And I said, hey, buddy, because we've been discussing a good way to partner together and figure out a way to work on these projects. And it takes a lot of it's a lot of intellectual property when you design these things from
Mm.
scratch. And I said, why don't we try to do these as partners and like figure out a way to make this work? Because there's no way we're going to go out and get $2 million to build something. We could probably go out and get, 600 or 700 grand, but 2 million's a lot. So he said, great. We went and sat down. I said, you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of a fern bar, which is really kind of like that's weird for the time frame, right? Think TGI Fridays. Think
Oh.
about this phase of when tiki sort of dies out, but like people still put a lot of plants in and there's a checkered floor and it's a fun community driven kind of vibe, not tropical, but like just those kind of places.
Mm.
And so that was a whole era of bars, late 70s, early 80s, maybe mid 80s to late 80s, somewhere in that range. And he said, my God, you're right. And I said, we sat there for a while and I said, I was recently at this place that I don't know if they would call it a fern bar, but it reminds me of where my brain is at for this concept. And that is the Long Bar at the Raffles Hotel in Singapore. And he was
Oh.
like, really? And I was like, yeah, Singapore is this melting pot of Asian culture, right? And he's like, yeah. And I said, they have these Hakka markets, and these Hakka markets are full of like food stalls, and there's like all these different Asian ethnic foods that you can get in one spot. And it's kind of raw, but it's kind of, like if you watch Anthony Bourdain, he's in the Hakka markets, right? Like those are the kind of things that that were very reminiscent for me of Singapore. And I thought of this space and I thought, can you design something inspired by a fern bar that's inspired by the long bar that takes us to a very specific moment that is Southeast Asian that Jennifer's going to make dim sum. And he
Mm.
was like, does she know how? And I said, I have no idea, but she's smart,
Mm-hmm.
right? She'll figure it out. And so as our brain started working, the word hornbill came up, and hornbill's this like has cultural significance of strength. It's an indigenous bird to some areas of Malaysia, and so it became sort of our mascot and the name of the concept. I then finally we baked it into this full branding, very, very brief branding, and we showed Jennifer, and I said, "Here it is. Can you do dim sum?" She's like, "Well, I don't know how, but I'll figure it out." Yeah. I said, you have excellent flavors.
Yeah.
You just need to know how to put that into a dumpling, or do this, or do this, or do this." And she's like, "Okay." And so the Hornbill was finally accepted and born, and now we're really close to like the final brand identity. I just saw the fourth, fifth, and sixth iterations of the branding direction, right? So now we have this idea that doesn't live in any moment in time, and so we picked a moment in time, which is this mid-century moment in time, and so we are going to do modern dim sum in a mid-century vibed Asian concept at 36th Street and Indian School inside of Market by Jennifer's.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be incredible. The closest dim sum of its kind is 25 minutes in either direction. So for a neighborhood that loves Asian concepts, right? Glyban up the street, we love them, right? Dan and Kat. I think the neighborhood's going to eat it up. And then on the weekends, once we get our feet underneath us, I'm going to run cart service on Saturdays and Sundays and open up for like proper dim sum, around 11 o'clock and rock out dim sum until from 11 to 2 or 11 to 3. And yeah.
Oh, how fun. How exciting.
I know.
Have you known Jennifer a long time? I mean, you guys have been
I've
neighbors with those businesses.
I've known her for probably 10 or 15 years. Yeah. We've always talked about collaboration, never thought it would ever come to fruition. We've been doing these little investor events, letting some people that are interested in investing kind of see the food and the drink, and the food that she's putting out is just ridiculous. Like really smart, really on point, really, think of, this was my favorite example of like, have you ever had chili crab? It's really messy.
I don't think so.
It's like a Dungeness crab, and it's in this really thick sauce, and the sauce is tangy and delicious, and you wear a bib and you put gloves on and you just dig in, right?
So that's what we're doing.
So think of that, but that refined into like a dumpling that has chili crab sauce. And so it's really like these re-envisioned ideas of really cool dishes that are Southeast Asian. So it could be India, it could be anything, right? And everything will come out in dim sum fashion. And then on the weekends, we're going to run carts around the room and see how that works out for us. I mean, it kind of worked out at Century Grand before the pandemic hit, and we had to kill it, if you remember. Yeah. So I think we're going to try it again.
Talk to me about, I mean, you think about this new concept for you and all the experience that you have now underneath you, not only working in town, having your contacts in town, traveling globally, seeing what other people are doing, and kind of selecting what you love about what they're doing. Back to those guys with a pocket full of change and an idea. What would you tell someone who's thinking about that with a couple of his buddies? Like, what could we do? What can we create here?
Yeah, I think that dreams are important. And if there's an opportunity to if you're really interested, let's just say for a bar, right? I'm speaking to the bartenders, the servers, somebody that wants to own their own establishment in that sense. I think there's a lot of misconception that it's easy. It's really hard. You know what I mean? Like to open a concept, to build a concept, to open a bar, to open a restaurant, it's a lot of work. You know what I mean? It takes a tremendous team to do it well. And so if somebody is ever interested and they've got the resources and they're really interested and they're serious about doing it and they're going to take the leap, I'm always available to help on, we can consult on a very light basis where we say, listen, you have this idea, let's call it Speakeasy of Phoenix. Great. You're going to open the Speakeasy of Phoenix. Do you have a pro forma? Do you know how much money you're going to be spending, generating? No, let us help you. We can help you with that. And so Juniper and Jigger really is poised to be all in or be very, very like very, very small amounts in. And, I can tell you that even for example, this project, right? I'm in El Paso. The owner had an idea, a great idea, a great location, but that's it. And so we've built it, and it's taken a lot of work to really help kind of put it on paper, to articulate what the brand's all about, to know what our revenue performer is going to look like, to know how to staff this place, to know if spending $1 million to open a place is even worth it. If it takes 10 years to make your money back, probably not worth it, right? Most people get into these businesses because they're a little bit more cash centric. And so, yeah, my suggestion is don't give up on your dreams. If you're serious, let's talk. Let me give you some things to work on to really decide if you want to do it.
Very
Do you want to
kind.
work 80 to 100 hours a week for the first 2 years? Okay, cool. You're in.
Let's do it.
Awesome. You don't have any kids? Oh, you do have kids. You sure? Are you sure you want to do this?
There's a lot
of work.
into it, right?
It's just a lot of work. I mean, you either that or you have to trust that other people can do it better than you, and then you hire the right team to do it.
Right.
So there's always that too, which would be us. We would operate for you. Yeah.
You've been in hospitality 20 plus years now.
Yeah.
How does showing up in your work look different than it did then? With the knowledge that you have, the intel that you have, what mistake that that was a bonehead, man. I would never would make that mistake now.
I think that time management specifically is really hard in this industry. At least for me, it was. Like understanding how to take a look at your time and understand how to manage it and deploy it, which is why I worked probably 120 hours a week, because I couldn't quite figure it out. But being timeliness in all things, specifically within the four walls of an operating business, is crucial. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that answers the question correctly. I think
time management is huge. I was telling my nephew that he's a freshman at ASU. And one of my biggest things I love that I was able to execute during my college years was time management. How to get the fun done, how to get ready for the test that's tomorrow. Do I need to worry about the test that's 2-3 days later? No, let's worry about that later. But just making sure that I always was prepared for the next day well. And I think that was a huge skill, and especially with a leader or just even an efficient employee, time management is a huge, huge thing.
Yeah, and I think another thing that really comes to mind is really training. If I think about how we were training, how I was trained as an employee versus how we train our people now, our staff, our family, right? It's just, that has changed a lot, really. I take a lot of time and I put a lot of effort and emphasis on culture. Because I feel like culture is a really big. It's either really good or really bad in this industry, right? You either feel, when I'm around my Missouri family, like the people love it. You know what I mean? They love the culture's good.
You're talking about Chef Joey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the culture that team has put out is incredible. And then you're at other places where you're like, hey, man, how are you? And they're like, I'm all right. And you're like, okay, right. Culture's screwy,
okay.
And so culture's a really big piece. Yeah. And I think that in retrospect, we didn't put enough emphasis in the very early years on culture and importance of culture. And I think that has intensified significantly. And I would imagine Kaylee would agree with this, that culture is a really big piece for us now. And it's not something we're really willing to overlook or, not emphasize it in the way that we want. So, yeah. I think culture is one of them.
I read in your bio, you said one piece of advice to an aspiring bartender is really think about your future. Make sure that you're investing. Make sure you're kind of working on your 401k. And that's a really important aspect as well that's maybe overlooked because in a corporate job, you might be given, here's your 401k, fill this out, blah, blah. But maybe you need to do that for yourself in those early years.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're young, it's, and you tell people to do these business-centric things, I think it's, it can be kind of challenging to get it to land and get it to kind of like, get through their thick skulls. And so a lot of times when I meet bartenders that are looking to learn and get better, right, I can recommend a book. A book is always a good thing, right? I can say, hey, you should really, how are you setting yourself up financially for the future? That could be a little challenging. But if I say something like, what do you want to do? You want to get better? Yeah, I want to get better. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to give you one word. It's exposure. Oh. What does that mean? That means travel. So save your money instead of going out and drinking it away, because it's a very common piece, right, in the industry. You kind of go out, have your drinks. And I said, save your money and go and drink in a different city and gain perspective. When you're sitting at the bar, if you see something that you don't know, or ask them how they make it. Yeah. You do that, Jason? Oh, 100%. Like when I went to Mexico City over to Handshake, we showed up a day early just so that we could go through a training on how to use a piece of equipment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love following you and Kaylee on your travels because you guys document it very well. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you have come up with over at Hornbill. So that's coming soon, maybe May-ish of 2026. We'll look forward to that.
That's what we're hoping for.
Jason Asher, thank you so much with Juniper and Jigger Hospitality. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Jason.
I'll talk to you later.
Thanks for listening to Jamie's Local Love, the podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Serretta. Do you know a business worthy of some local love? Email me at jserretta@azfamily.com. Follow us at facebook.com/Serretta and Instagram @Serretta News. Make sure to subscribe and give us a 5-star review, please. And tell your friends about the podcast and the businesses we feature to show your local love. You can find us on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and anywhere you get your podcasts.
Jamie's Local Love, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.